Unmute. Record on. Hello, welcome. Welcome to day 15, August, live stream from Data+Train, and I'm Neil Hambly, and welcome if you are returning. And if you're a first timer, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you like the content. And if you want to put something in the chat window, please do so. We do have that as well, and we can have a little bit of chat as we go. What are we going to cover in tonight's session? Excellent question. So as you may be aware, if you've already been kind of following some of these before, we are doing a, let me kind of bring up the full screen because it's a little bit easier to kind of showcase this and kind of drop that into number 2 and get myself into the top corner as well. Hopefully they've got some nice audio. I'll make that a little bit closer to give it nice sound for you. And the visual should be kind of really good. We've got the right lighting, some good cameras and everything else. So hopefully we're on track for that. If you're not familiar with me, I'm Neil Hambly. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I also run a business that does training and consultancy around Power BI and data platform technologies. And I just love kind of teaching the technologies. And the DA-100 is a fairly recent certification that's come out. It came out at the beginning of July. It replaces the previous Power BI product. This is a role-based certification, so it's a 4-day instructor-led course. I'm actually going to be running one of those very soon, and you can also kind of follow along the series of videos that we're going to be doing. And what we're going to be covering in, let's kind of get to the right screen, in the months of August through to November, get in right in there, we're covering the whole of the DA curriculum, the objective domain as it's also known. And in there's 5 functional groups. The prepare the data, we are covering in August. We move into model the data functional group in September, followed by visual the data in October. And in November, we finish with analyze the data and deploy and maintain deliverables. So we're gonna cover in all those 5 functional groups. There will be 13 different episode videos that I'm currently working on putting together that will be released every month. So there'll be 13 for prepare the data, model the data, another 13, etc. We are going to be covering everything. Now, if you want to get some hands-on, we're going to give you some instructions. We're going to give you some labs to do. We're going to have a whole raft of kind of instructional sets of data. But also in each of the videos we're doing, we're kind of delving a little bit deeper into what those are. Let me kind of show you what we're covering there. So we're going to go into get data, which is going to take us to the Microsoft Learn portal. And in here, I'm just going to go to certifications, and I want to go to browse certifications. I want to go to look at the DA-100 certification. I'm going to show you what we have inside of the skills being measured. So the exam itself has a number of skills. The skills being measured are those 5 listed there. So you can see we've got roughly about 25% per calendar month that we're covering. So it varies a little bit on what type of content and how many questions you get on the certification. But roughly, it's 25% roughly for each month. And if we delve into the detail, go into the skills outline and go into the PDF for that, kind of make that a little bit larger. What we're doing in each of the months. So prepare the data is obviously, as I said, for August. Now in there, we've got some subsections. We've got get data from different data sources, so all the different data sources that are available, SQL, flat files, databases, CDS, you name it, kind of there's a whole raft of different connectors, over 60 at the last count I had, and there's a ton of them. So what we're going to do is we're splitting pretty much the episodes into 2 kind of specific items. So if you look at the whole list, there's about 100 of them total across all of the different functional groups, and we're going to pick 2 for every single video. Sometimes there's a 1, sometimes there's a 3, but generally it's 2 of those. And what we can cover in a 10-15 minute kind of window really for the videos. I'm currently working on the content for that, so that should be available very soon. Next week, we are a little bit behind on the schedule, hot heat wave and everything else kind of has just kind of been a bit of an issue for me in the last week or so. So I'm back in the office, I'm back in the recording studio, doing all these recordings, and we'll have those available for you soon. Okay, now let's have a look at what we're covering. So episode 1 will be identify the connections and changing the data sources. Episode 2, we are then doing the shared data sets and storage mode, etc. So over the 13 videos of the month, we're covering all of what's prepared the data, and then we look into the next section. It's kind of just come out. So that's kind of what we're covering inside of that. Now, we've been going through and doing these live streams every day, and I've been picking up some elements of Power BI and Power BI Desktop and how to do things like bring data in and look at profiling the data. So today I've chosen, we're going to do a quick intro into the DAX, which is the Data Analytics Expressions language. So this is the way to perform calculations, measures, and just kind of build functionality into your Power BI. And we're going to start with a quick example of that. So we're going to go and grab the PBIX that's in kind of listed here. We can go grab that, bring that back, and we're going to look at one key element around a challenge that Power BI has, which is essentially you can have one and only one active relationship at any point in time. Kind of like real life, really. But if you want to have other relationships that kind of need to sometimes be utilized, then we can have them inactive and we can reference them through code, through the Data Analytics Expressions, the DAX language. So here we see an example of, kind of just going a little bit further, we have 3 relationships. Now on the left hand side, we've got the sales fact table with the star symbol, kind of like, I hover over the kind of there you'll see kind of we have it kind of star symbol on the right left hand side there, and we have a number of ones on the right hand side. So that's a one to many from the date dimensional table through to the sales key. Also would be the sales table. We've got it on the sales order date key. We've got it on the sales ship date key, and we've also got, there's another one in there for, I think, due date key as well. Okay, now we have 3 different relationships here, and potentially the way that we want to kind of measure the data and analyze the data will be, we want to have separate date tables instead of 3 relationships. So what we would do is we remove the 2 inactive ones with the dotted lines, and we could go and create a ship date table by replicating the date table and then creating a relationship between sales and the ship date table. And we could do again for the due date table, we do a similar thing. So we're going to go to show an example. So I'm going to go up, kind of open up that. You can see these are the ones we're looking for. So let's kind of start. I'm going to open up my Power BI that I've downloaded. Now you notice there's not really anything in the report side, but if we go into the relationship, and I've just I've made this a little bit more relatable here. So you can see if I scroll out a little bit, there we go. Going to get everything pretty much into view. All the ones on the top here, all the kind of ones in this section here are dimension tables. So if you look at the arrows, so we're kind of just pointing out the arrows, as arrows are kind of like coming from the one side down into the many, one to many, etc. And you can see that that's kind of the direction of the arrows coming down. So I wanted to showcase that if I hit one of these and filtered on, say, color or list price, what I would do is I would filter the results in the sales table because I'm pushing down my filter. There is one here at the end, which is the sales order, that actually is slightly different in that it has a double arrow, which means the filter can go in both directions. So we would look on that and we kind of see that. And then we have these 2 other relationships that are currently dotted, which means they are in a inactive state. And if I try and turn on one of these with the other one, so let me kind of just highlight it in here. So if I highlight this one here, you can see that we got the date order key, order date key is the current relationship that's in solid through to the date key in the date table. If I go to the next one, I've still got the date key in the date table, but it's going to the due date key, which is actually also hidden. We've got a little kind of cross slash through the visibility on that. And we've also got the ship date as well. So both of those columns are hidden in the sales table, but we do have relationships. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove those relationships and copy the table. So let me get rid of the top one first. And I want to delete the, sorry, cancel that. I want to kind of grab this relationship and click that relationship. So I can see that it's on sales to from there, and it's in the date table, it's on the date key, and it's on the, if you can see, the due date key. So these are the two kind of what we have there. Single direction, inactive. I turn it on, it's going to throw me a nice little error saying I can't have that. So let me get rid of that relationship. Let's kind of just get rid of it. So a couple of ways. I usually go to here and go, let me kind of order the ones I don't want. So I can see date key is replicate 3 times. One of those has a checkbox, which is obviously this one here. And ship date key and due date key aren't. So I'm going to highlight that one. I'm just going to delete. I'm going to do the same for the ship date key, delete. And now what I want to do is I want to duplicate the date tables. Let's see what we have here. Let's go and see where those relationships disappeared. Now this table, the date table, I want to duplicate. Okay, so you can't see, I can't see it, do it from here, but I can go into a couple of places. Now what I want to do is I want to add a new calculated table. So I'm going to do the new table here. I'm going to call this ship date. So let me go to ship date equal to date. Now what I've done is basically I'm duplicating the table here. Okay, so click the plus or the check marks, I should say, and I've got that table. Now you see, if I look over, I've got one called ship date now. Now let's go look at the relationship. It's up here. Let me go and kind of just bring it down to here. So kind of, you can see that it's pretty much the same. What it doesn't have, by the way, it doesn't have the hierarchy. One example you need to be aware of, if you do a copy of a table, you're copying the base data set, not any additional hierarchies you put on there. That's good. That's kind of so I'm going to move this one up because I want to put this one below it. And I want to now take the date key and bring that into the ship date key, this one here. Now I have a solid relationship. Okay. And I've got this one being on the date key to order date key, and this one being on the ship date key to the date key. And I can do one more. I'm going to go back to my home page. I'm going to do new table. I want to do a third and final table here. And the third and final table that we're going to do is going to be called due date. So it's kind of just due date equal to date. Check mark it. Get that table. Let's go into our relationship pane, and we will now see that we have a third one here, and we can kind of bring that down. It's kind of going to move that out a little bit there. There we go. I want to have all three of them kind of in a line, really. Let me kind of move that up a little bit. There we go. And get this one in the bottom. And hopefully I can just about get it listed in there. There we go. And take the date key and go to due date key. Okay, so what I have, you can see I have now 3 different date tables, each one doing relationship. What I need to do when I'm creating my reports, I need to make sure I use the right one. So one of the things I might want to do is just rename that. And I can go in and kind of do that a couple of different places. But generally, you know, I just probably use the way I tend to do it is I'll leave my date one alone. And I have others like ship date or due date. So I know it's a date table, but I know it's got a specific purpose, and I can see the relationship there, and the data in it is exactly the same. So we're not going to do too much there. Coming back to the relationship, we're doing this example here. We're kind of going through and kind of you also kind of want to rename stuff, and you want to kind of change some of the internals of the values. So some of the columns that are being used. So we got ship fiscal year instead of fiscal year. We got ship month, ship full day. So it's very obvious what we're doing here. Okay. Now you can also use the example of a auto calendar or calendar auto using the DAX functionality. And here we can see that if I do this example where I do due date equals calendar auto, and in brackets I have the value of 6, essentially this is going to be the value of June. Okay. So we're going to kind of end up kind of working out what financial years are, and so you have some ability to create your own kind of date tables and using the auto date functionality. Very easy to create and very easy to kind of build that calculated table here. So here's an example of building that out. Now, once you've kind of built those, you're going to go into, let me go scroll to the top here, go into some of the others, like understanding things like row context and other steps. And we will then be using potentially in our calculations, which version of that calendar we want. So in this case, do we want the due date from which table, which calendar table are we looking for? So this might be one of the reasons why we're trying to make number of versions. So we might want to do here due date, but it could be ship date. It could be just normal order date. We want to kind of figure out maybe how many orders are shipped in a certain month, how many orders are received in a certain month, how many orders are due in the next month. So we might have these different calendar months for that purpose. Okay, so that's an example of one of the reasons why you would have that as a kind of different set there. But it's mainly to get over the inactive relationships. Now, measures themselves can also be used to using these with a keyword called user relationships. And we're going to get into a video later on in the series where we kind of go into more detailed solutions and scenarios around this. So this was kind of just giving you a bit of a DAX intro, and this was a quick example of how we did that. We also have things like related table and lookup value. So think of how you do things maybe in a SQL Server or database world. You are essentially creating relationships between these entities, and then we can relate those tables and have lookups. There's a few different ways of adding extra columns, calculated columns as they're known, and we can do that either through the M query language, as we do in Power Query Editor, or we can do it in the actual model once the data's been loaded. Now, there's performance reasons why you might want to do one versus the other, and we're not going to go into those details right now. But remember, you've got two essentially languages. You've got the M language, which is the mashup language, which is the Power Query Editor. We're kind of all doing all these different steps, and I'll show you some of that in a minute. And then the DAX language, which is more involved. Now, I would say if you're new to DAX and you want to kind of get a good primer for DAX, the stuff in Learn is good, but also there's some very knowledgeable folks over at SQL BI, and if I go to their training page, you'll notice that they do have an introduction to DAX course that's completely free. There are paid for courses, and they are not that expensive. I don't think so anyway. You get an awesome amount of expertise from Alberto and Marco for what's out there. I would recommend these courses every day. I think you'll probably find most of the top kind of Power BI folks make use of the capabilities of the courses and stuff that's available. And there is like DAX Patterns, for example. You can go and get a massive amount of content for DAX around kind of all the kind of things you would do with DAX. And they've got a whole bunch of, I think, 23 different DAX patterns, and you're paying nearly, just under 280 bucks really, sorry, instead of 1200. But even 1200 would be a good value for that. So they are some great instructors, but they do have some free training. So I would recommend maybe you go and have a look at their free training first. Look at kind of what's in the DAX engine. There's 32 videos in here. It does explain what DAX is, how to do things like evaluation context and calculations, etc. So a good primer, a good material, some excellent examples in there. And to be honest, their blogs as well are really, really good. Definitely worth a look there. So I will recommend, and I'll put a link to their SQL BI intro Dutch course in the description below as well as we go. So we kind of I'm just going to leave that there for a second. So we can go through the Microsoft Learn and look at all the different kind of training for that. And let's go and actually look at the roles for data analyst and come down and look at the learning path that starts with that. And if you go down, you'll see that there will be model the data, analyze the data, get data with Power BI desktop, etc. And later on, we've got some DAX, and use DAX in Power BI desktop is kind of the first learning path where you're going to come and start learning how to use the DAX engine, the language itself, and be able to do a whole host of calculations and make use of all the functionality really that Power BI can expose to us is extremely powerful. Once you kind of get it past a couple of the basic steps to kind of bring data in and create some relationships, you'll probably find you're going to fall into this DAX world very, very quickly. Now, it's not overly complicated. It takes a while to kind of get up and running if you're not familiar with how DAX works. So there's a few intro courses that kind of start you up there. Now, I will be doing a full day, free, instructor-led, online virtual course on DAX in, I think we'll probably either look at the end of September, early October, part of the kind of months that we're doing. So when we get to that specific section, I will let people know ahead of time. They can book into that course. We will have a limit of 100 people for that course. So we can only kind of take so many people on certain platforms. But you'll be able to kind of come in and we walk through that. We do have some information in the dashboard in the day, which is already in the description below, around kind of what's in there. The videos we're going to put out will also cover that in more detail as well as we get to DAX and take you through. And we're going to build a Power BI model from complete scratch, building up, and we will have where's the example? So we've got the DAX Example Model here, which again I'm going to be able to kind of showcase to you this, and this is what we're showing right now. You go and grab that, and it kind of helps with how to perform certain DAX calculations and kind of things like using selected value instead of values, using count rows instead of count. Some of the challenges we have with the internals, we'll be covering all that. So if this is all a bit of a kind of like, oh, it's over my head, Neil, I'm not quite ready for this yet, don't worry. We will take you from no knowledge, nothing in Power BI. You can go and download the sample model here. You can go and grab that, and you can follow through the instructions that we're going to do. So we will be putting through a full set of instructions on how to do all the steps, get us up and running, get us kind of just kind of working with Power BI and start to add additional functionality like DAX and know when to use the mQuery language, when to use the DAX expressions, when not to kind of bring in. Let me just kind of turn off the volume one sec. I can hear it in the background. I'm not sure if you guys can. I'm just going to take that down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let's look at where we got from time. We don't have any questions I can see in the chat window, but if you are listening, say hello. Say put a question in if you have a question around what we're doing. So these, if you're not familiar, these live streams are doing every day in August. We'll continue in September, October, November, but probably on a twice a week cadence. Now, likelihood is probably going to be Monday and Thursday. And it's going to be again at 8:30. Hopefully that's going to be a good time for you guys. I will potentially look to do additional live streams at different times. But right now, this works really well for my schedule. It kind of works for Europe as well. Not so good for some of the other kind of Asia Pacific ones. But, we do have the recordings that are going out anyway. So if you can't meet it on a live stream, then, we'll kind of have you catch up on it later. If you have questions about Power BI, bring them to one of our live streams. More than happy. It doesn't have to be about the content we're looking at now. If you're going to have questions about the courses, then sure, bring those as well. Now, we did have a prize draw run just this week gone by, where we gave out free training seats for the DA-100. Those have been allocated. We have Samuel, Tom, and Daria, I think, that won for those. And we're going to have one of the trainings very, very soon. And that's for the DA-100, 4-day instructor-led. Normally, the major vendors out there will charge you about $2,500. We were doing that at about $895. I had a 50% discount code for 10 seats for our October delivery, and that brings it down to £447.50 UK pounds. So it's 50% off. It's the word train. Go into the website. The links are in the description below. You'll be able to kind of sign up for that. I will be sending more, doing more videos closer to the October release around that as well. What's in the course, etc. But we're going to have additional training as well, like the DP-900 I mentioned yesterday, which is the Azure Data Fundamentals and how that fits into the training you're doing for the DA-100. Also, other courses that are in the Azure and the business kind of applications portfolio. So we have things like the data engineering certifications. We have the AI certifications. We have a whole bunch of other ones that are in the Azure kind of administration and admin and development. So you name it, we're going to have a bunch of those, and we are looking to extend that a little bit more, have more of our instructors kind of become available to deliver. We have 3 or 4 instructors that kind of deliver courses, and we have kind of consultants out there full-time doing like full-time 5 days a week kind of Power BI projects for clients. So if you do need a little bit of help, do get in touch. You can get kind of me with my information. I think we have, let's have a quick look. So Neil Hambly, and you can go Neil_Hambly on Twitter, and you can get me. Again, we have that in. And let me just zoom in a little bit here. So if you want to get hold of me, you can just kind of contact me on either Twitter or neil@beaconintel.co.uk and ask your questions. If I can answer them straight away and it's nice and easy, I do so. If there's a bit more involved and you need some help, I can let you know how we can assist you. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. Okay. There's a ton of stuff we're going to cover in those episodes. I am in the process of kind of creating all of those right now. So we have kind of the episodes that are being built right now. Those are being recorded, and once I've got through the editing process and I'm ready and it's kind of, they're nice and on point and do what they need, I will get those out into the YouTube. I'll upload them to YouTube very soon, and you'll be able to go and consume those. And we're going to have, say, 13 for August, 13 September, 13 November, and 13 on October, and November. 52 videos for the DA-100. Going to be awesome. I'd love to get your feedback as well once they're kind of out and around. And we will kind of say that that's going to be a close for tonight. I've got some snooker to watch, and I've got these videos to build, and some other stuff to get done as well. And my rice pudding, I think, is nearly ready, so I'm making some rice pudding for dinner. I will see you tomorrow. If you like what you see, subscribe, notify, and we will be here tomorrow. Bye for now. See you guys later.